Hello again, welcome to another edition of CropLife Retail Weeks. I mentioned last week our friend Eric Svilgoy is in Europe right now. He's going to be here, he's going to be in Europe I think this week and next week. So we'll have special guests coming in. Of course we have Matthew Grassi, our field editor / senior editor for CropLife and Precision Ag. Thanks for joining me this week.
Thanks for having me, Paul.
Yeah, so we're left with the home cooking while he's off playing in Europe. Right. So we had to finish up the CropLife and Precision Ag October issues, which will be paired together and mailed together in the poly bag. But one thing we were working on was state of distribution report, and we were working on, in particular, e-commerce and some of the things that FBN is doing with seed.
That's right.
What was kind of interesting on this from the seed perspective on what you saw?
Well, definitely them launching a whole seed line, the F2F Genetics Network, which is what they're calling their seed efforts for 2018 and beyond. They'll be selling some Roundup Ready soybeans and some conventional corn. And kind of the interesting thing I thought, talking to Ron Wolfkuhl, who is the head of this FBN seed venture, was that they're actually couching this as beneficial to the local retailer. That once a lot of these growers buy this conventional corn, that there will be kind of a window for the retailer to get in there and sell some corn rootworm stuff and some products, to kind of complementary products to that seed product. So not completely cutting the retailer out, I guess, but I'm sure retailers are looking at that and saying, wow, here we go, another input or seed line that we're going to have to deal with.
Yeah, and there's a lot of layers to that. You wonder, in terms of the seed itself, how trusting growers will be. I mean, there were a lot of there's been attempts at seed lines that haven't been necessarily very successul. Those new launches are pretty hard to get off. And seed is just a different animal. I mean, when I was doing the Precision Ag or the CropLife story for on e-commerce, there's a lot of talk about how difficult seed is as an input to sell. It still continues to be an emotional one, and it's a critical decision. There, nothing can be done without seed that's absolutely ironclad lock in, and it's a huge risk to put a seed in the ground that has not enough potential or not the potential you expect it to. So, I guess we'll see. I think, and there's just. There's also the aspect of FBN and has been making noise about grain marketing and pursuing the grain side. So if they can get growers to grow conventional and find a home for it where there's a premium, I think that's some place they see a potential benefit too. I would imagine. So the other thing on e-commerce I think is really interesting is in talking to the three folks that we talked to primarily for the story, is that we really see it affecting crop protection prices. It's really it's some of the regionality that's happening between different regions. Some of these retailers that are involved in these are finding as they quote out prices for farmers who make who ask for prices, they're finding sometimes as much as double the price that they're offering, and then as they go back and explore it, they're finding the manufacturers are just are based on demand. Will have prices go from a generic low to all the way to a premium high, depending on what demand is. So retailers are having discussions with their reps and possibly finding ways to lower the cost of inputs that are lower in one state than another, just based on demand.
I see.
So it's interesting. I think as more that kind of unveils itself and happens, you wonder what's going to, how it's going to affect crop protection overall. And I'm on CropLife America, so it's some discussion I'm going to have with some of these folks to see what their opinion on it is and where that might be going. So there's a couple other things in the news. I said the Deer Granular collaboration with new profit maps tools that seem to be looking to compete more with Field View and getting more tools to growers on their iPads and getting them things that they can see. Yeah. Which I think at the end of the day, again, as long as no one's promising that they're going to replace the role of the retailer, the trusted advisor, the agronomist, I think that's probably not a bad thing. Honestly,
I agree. Yeah.
Yeah. And then the other thing was turning the page here. I saw that the Ag Retailers Association is they worked on a cover crop adoption survey with a third party, and they're talking about cover crops a lot. Now, you were at CTIC, and that was
Yes,
the
sir.
big discussion.
A lot of cover crops on the Eastern Shore in Maryland there.
Yeah.
Of course, we anything that helps the environment, keeps soil where it's supposed to be, keeps nutrients out of the water, we're obviously for that. The thing with cover crops is, and it's not talked about often, and growers have a hard time with this, is I guess after kind of implementing cover crops on a field where they haven't been done before, there's a yield drag that's possible that can hit you pretty hard, actually, depending on what cover crop blend you're planting. So that's kind of what's holding back the adoption, I think, a little bit, is growers are obviously not wanting to sacrifice yield when costs are down, and kind of it's just they need that yield to make their money for the year, I guess.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's retailers only want to, they're there to help production. They're there to help explain things, and it's especially in the times we're in now, to have to explain a yield drag, if that's actually the case, or explain any change in yield based on a change in practice, is going to be extremely difficult for anyone to engage in or to want to engage in, and it's not something a lot of growers are going to want to hear about. So this process of education, I'm glad ARA is doing this and broaching the subject. We did a webinar probably 2 summers ago now. And there's a lot of interest and there's a lot of research on it, and it very well could be very beneficial. But the big thing is we got to educate ourselves, and we got to make sure that we're telling growers the right thing. Otherwise,
manage expectations, right?
That's right. And make them understand what the pros and cons are. If retailers don't get it, then growers certainly won't get it. And I think starting the education process is probably a good thing.
Yep.
So that's about it for this edition of CropLife Retail Week. We will be back at you next week, and thanks for joining us.